Let me tell you what happens when you stop being the nice girl. For most of your life, the word unknown came with baggage, emotional baggage, guilt, fear, the urge to explain. You'd say things like, I'm so sorry, I just have a lot going on right now, or I wish I could, but I'm just swamped. Even though you didn't owe anyone an explanation, you gave one anyway, because deep down, you were afraid of what would happen if you just said the word no and left it hanging there. But here's what happens when you grow. When you stop being the nice girl, you learn that a no is not a rejection. It's a boundary, a line in the sand. It's not about pushing people away. It's about pulling yourself back to where your energy belongs. And when you really start to own your power, something incredible happens. You say a no, and you stop apologizing for it. You stop feeling the need to soften your truth just to make someone else more comfortable. You stop wrapping your decisions in cotton candy to make them easier to swallow. Wow. You stop giving people the illusion of access to parts of your time, your energy, or your peace that you're no longer offering. Oh, why? Because you realize that your time is your currency, and every time you say yes to something you don't want, you're stealing from the part of your life that actually matters. You also learn this. When you say a no clearly and confidently, you teach people how to treat you. You're no longer someone who can be guilted, manipulated, or emotionally blackmailed into things. You're no longer the go-to person for every favor, every last-minute request, every "you're so good at this, can you just..." a moment. That may ruffle some feathers. It may surprise people, but it will also reset the expectations around you. People will start to realize she doesn't say yes unless she means it. And that's the shift. You stop being nice and start being honest and start being honest. Because let's be real, half of those yesies weren't actually kind. They were forced, resentful, draining. And that's not kindness. That's people-pleasing in disguise. There's nothing noble about saying yes while secretly wishing you'd had the courage to say no. Real kindness, real power is in showing up authentically, and that includes honoring your no with the same clarity and strength as your yes. The other thing you'll notice, you start respecting yourself more. Every time you say no, you're telling yourself, I matter, my needs matter, my time matters. That inner voice, the one you used to ignore, gets louder, stronger, more assertive. And suddenly you're not just protecting your calendar, you're protecting your confidence. You're no longer drained from overcommitting, and you stop living in that cycle of burnout and resentment. That's not selfish. That's self-respect. Of course, not everyone's going to love this version of you. Or some people are so used to your yes that your no feels like a betrayal. That's okay. Let them feel that discomfort. Let them recalibrate, because you're not here to keep other people comfortable. You're here to live a life that feels aligned, not approved. And anyone who genuinely values you will respect your boundaries, not punish you for setting them. There's a moment in your growth when something clicks. You start seeing things clearly. Not just what people say to your face, but how they say it. The tone, the subtext, the jokes that aren't funny, the compliments laced with criticism. You start catching the little digs, the eye rolls, the sighs, the subtle dismissals. And what used to slide right past you, it stops being invisible. You see it for what it is. Disrespect dressed up in charm, politeness, or sarcasm. Once upon a time, you made excuses for this stuff. They didn't mean it like that. Well, maybe I'm being too sensitive. That's just how they are. But now, you don't play that game. Because you've realized, just because someone delivers disrespect with a smile doesn't make it any less toxic. In fact, the sugar-coated kind is often the most dangerous because it confuses you. It makes you question your instincts. Yeah, it keeps you stuck, overanalyzing conversations, wondering if you're overreacting. But here's the truth. You are not overreacting. You are finally reacting appropriately. You're not dramatic. You're not uptight. You're awake. And when you wake up to disguised disrespect, you start responding differently. You stop laughing at jokes that cut you down. You stop letting people speak over you, interrupt you, or talk down to you. You stop playing along just to keep the peace. Because now, keeping your own peace matters more than making anyone else feel comfortable. You also learn that disrespect isn't just loud. It's not just the yelling, the obvious insults, the screaming matches. Sometimes disrespect is passive. It's silence. It's being excluded. It's someone not forgetting your boundaries over and over again. It's people taking advantage of your time, your kindness, your energy, and acting like it's normal. You learn to spot it, name it, and most importantly, you no longer tolerate it. even the subtle kind, especially the subtle kind. And let's be honest, some people are going to get real uncomfortable when you stop tolerating what they used to get away with. They'll call you a difficult, a cold, too sensitive. That's okay. That's part of the detox. Because the moment you stop accepting disrespect, you force people to either level up or lose access. And you know what? You're okay with losing access to people who never truly respected you in the first place. You start realizing something huge. Respect is not earned by pleasing others. It's claimed by standing in your power. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, by what you laugh off, by what you stay silent about. So when you stop tolerating even the smallest microaggressions, backhanded compliments, or dismissive behavior, you're not being dramatic. You're being clear. You're sending a message. If you want access to me, you better come correct. Best part, your energy changes. When you stop tolerating disrespect, your whole vibe shifts. You walk differently. You speak differently. You no longer shrink, flinch, or second-guess yourself. You become more grounded, more direct, more you. And the people around you, the real ones, notice. They rise to meet you because your boundaries create clarity. They start treating you the way you treat yourself, with respect, with intention, with care. So no, you're not being rude. You're not being harsh. You're being honest. You're being honest. You're done with hidden insults. You're done with fake support. You're done pretending not to notice things that were always out of line. From now on, you choose respect in both directions. And anything less than that doesn't get a seat at your table. There comes a point in your life when you finally realize something. Chasing everyone's approval is a full-time job, and it pays you nothing. You spend your energy trying to be agreeable, likable, easygoing, polite. You mold yourself into whatever version of you fits the moment. And while you're out there performing, saying the right of things, pleasing the crowd, you're slowly losing yourself. But when you stop being the nice girl, you start to ask a different question. What do I actually need right now? What feels right for me? And when you ask that question, the answer almost always leads to peace, not applause, not validation, not the constant noise of being liked, just peace, quiet, steady, grounded peace, the kind that doesn't depend on anyone else. Here's the truth. Peace and approval don't always coexist. Sometimes choosing peace means disappointing someone, canceling the dinner you didn't want to go to, saying no to a favor, not answering that text right away, speaking your truth, even when it's not the popular opinion. And yeah, some people will be uncomfortable. Some might pull away. That's okay. Because if your peace threatens the relationship, then that relationship was built on your compliance, not your connection. It takes strength to do this. Because approval feels good for a while, it's addictive, but it fades fast. And then you're left wondering why you feel drained, irritated, or disconnected. That's the cost of choosing approval over peace. The people who live for applause are always performing, always auditioning, always exhausted, But when you choose peace, you stop performing. You stop playing roles. You start showing up as you. And no, choosing peace doesn't mean cutting everyone off or walking around with your guard up. It means you stop negotiating your inner calm just to avoid disappointing others. You stop setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You start protecting your space, your time, your energy. And you stop asking for permission to do it. That kind of shift doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. This clarity helps you filter what actually belongs in your life. You notice who respects your space and who pushes past your boundaries. You feel who drains your energy and who respects your time. When peace becomes your priority, your standards rise. You're no longer desperate to fit in. You're no longer chasing circles that demand you shrink. You'd rather be alone and in alignment than surrounded and out of touch with yourself. And the beautiful, liberating truth, the moment you choose your peace, your entire life starts to shift. Your conversations change, your relationships evolve, you make better decisions. You stop second-guessing yourself. You become more focused, more calm, more powerful. You stop being pulled in 100 directions and start moving in one. Yours. So no, you're not selfish for putting your peace first. You're not rude. You're not hard to deal with. You're just no longer willing to abandon yourself for a round of applause. And anyone who truly belongs in your life, they won't need you to sacrifice your peace just to make them feel comfortable. Let's be honest, setting boundaries is the easy part. Saying, I need space, or I'm not available after 7 p.m., or I'm not okay with being spoken to like that. That's step one. But the real power doesn't come from setting boundaries. The power comes when you enforce them. Because boundaries without consequences are just suggestions. And guess what? Guess what? People treat them that way. There was a time when you'd speak your limits softly, like a question. You'd draw the line and then erase it the second someone pushed back. You'd explain, apologize, over-justify. You didn't want to seem rude or dramatic or too much. So you set boundaries and then didn't hold them. You trained people to ignore your no, to stretch or adjust this once and always, and to always. And every time you gave in, a little piece of your self-respect chipped away. But that version of you, she's done. Now, you've learned the difference between a boundary and a bluff. You don't just say what you're not okay with. You act on it. Someone disrespects your time, you stop rearranging your schedule for them. Someone crosses a line you clearly set, you walk away without the guilt. You don't yell. You don't yell. You don't over-explain. You don't make it dramatic. You just act calmly, clearly, consistently. Here's the truth most people don't talk about. Enforcing boundaries will make people uncomfortable, especially the ones who benefited from you having none. Some will push back. Some will test you. Some will test you. Some will try to make you feel like the bad guy. Let them. You're not responsible for managing their reaction to your truth. You're responsible for honoring your standards, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because every time you enforce a boundary, you're telling yourself, I matter. You're building self-trust. You're proving that your needs aren't negotiable, that your time, your peace, your energy, they're worth protecting. And eventually, you stop feeling bad about it. You stop apologizing because you realize this isn't about being mean. It's about being healthy. And healthy people don't tolerate what damages them, no matter how nice the package looks. So yes, you set boundaries now. But more importantly, you back them up. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. That's not harsh. That's not harsh. That's not cold. That's clarity. That's clarity. And when you start moving through the world with that kind of clarity, people adjust. The ones who respect you will stay. The ones who don't, you won't miss them. Because peace doesn't beg for company. For most of your life, speaking up felt risky. Saying how you really felt, voicing your needs, disagreeing with someone out loud, that wasn't your default. Your default was silence, not because you didn't care, but because you cared too much. You didn't want to cause conflict. You didn't want to be judged, misunderstood, or labeled as a too much. So instead, you swallowed your opinions, bit your tongue, and smiled through your discomfort. But that silence came with a cost. Every time you chose not to speak, a little piece of your confidence faded. You walked away from conversations thinking, why didn't I say something? Why do I stay quiet? You kept rewriting what you should have said in your head. And the truth is, staying quiet to keep the peace always created a war inside your own mind. The stress, the resentment, the regret, it added up until one day you hit a breaking point. And it wasn't a dramatic moment. It was subtle. It was the day you realized that being quiet doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you small. And even if your voice shakes, even if your heart pounds, even if your hands tremble, you speak because your truth matters more than their comfort. Because the moment you speak up, really speak, you come home to yourself. You learn that courage doesn't mean having zero fear. It means doing the thing anyway. So you speak up in the meeting. You tell the friend they hurt you. You tell your partner what's not working. You ask for what you need, even if your voice isn't steady, because you finally understand. Your voice is not a problem, it's your power. And shaky or not, it still gets the job done. You also realize this. You don't need to say it perfectly to say it powerfully. You don't need the perfect words. You don't need to be polished. You don't need to be loud. You just need to be honest. When you speak from the gut, people feel it. It lands. It disrupts. And yes, it might make some people uncomfortable. But discomfort is not the enemy. It's the doorway to growth, to clarity, to real connection. So now you speak up, not for approval, not to prove anything, but because you matter. Your boundaries, your ideas, your needs, your feelings, they matter. And whether your voice shakes or not, you've decided one thing for certain. You're done being silent about the things that matter to you, because your truth deserves to be heard. And you're the only one who can speak it.